Ludicrous Feed is proudly sponsored by Carloop, data to empower Australia's EV revolution. Hey everyone, I'm here to review the Braumach spare tyre for my BYD Seal, and as you can see it fits pretty well in the boot of the BYD Seal. Let me just push this in a bit more. There we are. You can take that with you on a long drive if necessary, and it's no secret that the Seal, like a lot of EVs these days, does not have a spare tyre, so that's why we're here to review a third-party spare tyre from Braumach. Alright, let's get into it. And here's a pro tip: if you ever need to change your tyre, make sure you get the Lug Nut Cap remover from the subfloor area of your BYD Seal boot. So lift everything up here, and lift this up, and there it is. That is what you need to remove the Lug Nut Caps from your wheel. Okay, so the Braumach spare tyre for the Seal comes in a very handy carry case. It's even got a strap like that. And then inside, of course, is the tyre. Let's have a look. Max 80 kilometers an hour. And then this side it says, warning, do not exceed 80 kilometers an hour. Temporary use only. Inflate tyre to 60 psi, 420 kPa. And there are instructions there with a QR code. And inside the bag, there's also a handy pouch which you can store the accessories that come included with the kit, including the telescopic handle, safety sign, jack, the ratchet handle for the jack, and a couple of different sized sockets. Alright, so first step is to get the wheel off the car. And of course, safety first, make sure you are on flat ground, no other hazards or danger around the car before you attempt to take the wheel off. Now my car is a rear-wheel drive vehicle, which means that for the front wheel I will be loosening the lug nuts before I jack the car up, because if you try to loosen the lug nuts with the car already suspended, it's going to be harder for you. Whereas with an all-wheel drive vehicle it's not so much an issue because there are dual motors. Whereas my car, it's only a rear-wheel drive, so the motor is at the back and the wheel will spin if you try to loosen the lug nuts with the car suspended. Alright, so first step, let's take off the lug nut caps, and that's where this comes in handy. This is what I was showing you in the boot. There it is there. So that just slots in here, and we'll just take each one off. So here's an example. Just slips out like that. So let's do that, take each one off. Okay, so I've taken the caps off each of the lug nuts. Next, I'm going to loosen them, and not all the way, just loosen them, and make sure you loosen and tighten your lug nuts in a crisscross pattern, like that, as much as possible, just for safety. That way, no lug nut is exposed to a disproportionate amount of tension. Okay, so here's the telescopic handle, which was included with the kit you saw earlier, and I've just applied the 21mm socket onto the end of it. And we're going to loosen each one now, so we'll start with this one. Alright, so I'm doing this one-handed because I'm holding the camera with the other one, and it's not too hard. Just, there you go, just a quarter turn, it should loosen, and that's all you really need to loosen each lug nut, and we'll do that sequentially. Okay, so now I'm going to check that each lug nut is loosened. There we go. Get my finger loosened, and now I can jack the car up. Okay, so the jack that has been included with this kit has been specifically designed for the BYD Seal. You can see that it matches the jack points, which I'll show you in a second, under the car. And there's a warning here that, make sure the capacity is 2,000 kilograms. Of course, you're only jacking up 1/4 of the vehicle, even if the car is 2 tons. You're only lifting up 500 kilograms each time, so you should be okay. And the jacking points are right here, so let me show you under the vehicle. Okay, so I'm under the car now, and this here, that's the jacking point. You'll find that on each quadrant of the vehicle. So that's where I'm going to match the jack onto to safely lift the car up. Okay, so conventionally the jack sits perpendicular to the length of the car, so like that. And then you'll see that the top of the jack can be swiveled like that. So we'll make it this direction in line with the jacking point you just saw earlier. Okay, so you see the jack is now aligned with the jacking point, and then from here I'm just going to use my fingers to raise the jack until it matches perfectly with the jacking point. And when I'm satisfied, then I'll use the ratchet lever. Okay, so I've made sure that the jack is aligned with the jacking point. It's perpendicular to the car, and I've now attached the ratchet lever to the turning point, and then make sure it's clicked to the right position, because it can be forward or backwards. And then we just basically jack the car up. And because it's ratchet, all you need to do is go up and down, and the car will lift eventually. So let's do that for a while. And you'll know the car is lifting up because you'll hear this thumping sound coming from the wheel. That means the tyre is going airborne. It's separating from the ground. Okay, so we have liftoff. So now we just want to loosen the lugs completely. That can be your hand loosen, of course, because you've done all the hard work earlier. I'm taking them off with the telescopic wrench. Again, just out of habit, just remove them in a crisscross pattern like this. And then I'll do that one, then that one, then that one. And take particular note also that when you remove the lug nuts, I'll just show you when I take this last one out. So when they come out like this. So you'll see that it's tapered on one end and then flat on the other end. And if you have a look inside one of the holes, it's the same thing. There's a bit of a deeper recess inside, like in a conical shape. So make sure when you put the lug nuts back into the wheel, they go back in the same way. Otherwise, there's a risk the wheel may not be secure if the lug nut is the opposite way. So yeah, tapered side in when it goes back in the wheel. And take note too that the kit also comes with a pair of gloves. And I suggest you wear that if you don't want dirt all over your hands when you take the wheel off and on. Okay, so with my gloves on, I've taken the wheel off, and for those of you interested and watched my third-party brake caliper covers from topbyd.com, here it is. It's still nice and secure after a few weeks of use, and very happy with it so far. And here it is, the Braumach spare wheel and tyre, which I will now attach to my BYD seal. Okay, so there it is. It's attached on, jack still up, same amount of clearance from my OEM wheel and tyre. So now we just put the lug nuts back on and secure it. And again, I can't stress the importance enough of putting the lug nut back in this direction, tapered first, like so. Okay, so all the lug nuts are in the right threads. And now I'm just going to finger tighten these with the socket without the handle. That way it's just finger tight. So again, crisscross pattern like this, boom, 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 boom. So we'll go nut by nut. Okay, so finger tightened. I'm just checking each one now in that crisscross pattern. Okay, so we are now good to go. We can now release the jack. Release the jack! All right, down we go. And of course, make sure you turn the dial in the correct direction so you're going down. Okay, so we are back down to earth. The jack is gone. We have the spare tyre on. The last thing we need to do before we go for a test is to tighten the lug nuts. Now, ideally you want a click torque wrench to make sure you get the right tension, but then again, having said that, BYD don't actually give us their recommended tension on their manuals, which is a bit frustrating. I've heard around the blocks 130 Newton meters of torque for these lug nuts, just calling a few tyre shops. But in the absence of a click torque wrench, which I have, but I won't use because I want to emulate a situation where you would change a spare tyre on the side of the road, for example. I would suggest just using the telescopic socket wrench and just giving it a reasonable amount of force on each turn before you drive off. And look, obviously in an emergency situation, you want to get this spare tyre off as quickly as possible by going to a tyre shop to getting a new tyre. So I think it's reasonable to use one of these, particularly the one that's been included with the kit, to get you to safety as quick as possible. So again, crisscross pattern like that, each point of the star, and use, like I said, reasonable amount of force. So for example, let's hook onto this one. Again, I'm using one hand for this, but I'm using a fair amount of body weight like that. Just do that one more time. Probably a quarter turn is reasonable. There, so I'm pretty happy with that amount of force. I'll do that for each one. Okay, spare tyre secured. Let's head off for a drive to make sure it's all good. Okay, so there it is. Proof that the Braumach spare tyre works great for the BYD seal. I'll leave a link to this product as well as a discount code in the video description below should you choose to check it out. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Braumach as well for supplying this spare wheel to test for my BYD CL. Until next time, take care, and as always, happy charging.